Okay, of course, that on the last lab of the semester, I have technical difficulties and my whole computer just crashes. So if I could explain my teaching experience in 2 words, it would be a hot mess. That was 3, whatever. Okay, so let's finish this up. I'm going to give you guys the last couple of bits of information that you need in order to complete your lab, and I will also show you guys the video and how to, make a graph on Excel. So hopefully you'll have everything you need by the end of this video. Really quickly for participation, so you guys cut out right at the end of participation, and I had copied and pasted everything that you guys had said into a Word document, and then I didn't save it. So you guys will all get your participation points for today. I'm just going to assume you're here, and I'm assuming you did it. I did get to read some of them. I didn't get to read all of them. So like I said, you'll get 3.5 points today for sure. But if you guys if you could email me your feedback that you guys said, so one thing you liked and one thing that could have been improved, I would really appreciate that. You don't have to. You're going to get your points regardless. But like I said, I didn't get to read all of them and it didn't save, and I'm really sad. So I would like to get your guys' input, right now, because, instant gratification, I don't like delaying gratification. And I'd like to know what you guys liked and what can be improved on, so I don't have to wait for that feedback from the ATS survey. Okay, so again, email me your feedback if you want to. You don't have to, but I would greatly appreciate to hear from you. We're gonna watch the methods video right now. Again, you don't have to take down any information. I will screenshot the data sheet and I will post it on Beachboard. You just have to copy and paste the information over. So just take your time to actually enjoy the video. So our participant today, he is male, he's 44 years old, and he's about 86 kilograms. He's very active. He actually just completed a triathlon a little bit earlier before taking this test. So he had done it a couple of weeks ago, and he did very well. He trains in jiu-jitsu. He kind of talks about himself, but he trains almost every day, sometimes 2 times per day. So he's incredibly active. And you guys will see in his test, he actually does very well. So we're gonna move into the video right now. So before we start, VO2 max tests are pretty intense. So you can see they have the mask on and everything like that. They have what's called a spit tube at the bottom. And so as this person is running, they're producing some saliva. So it goes into the spit tube. It's gross, it's sweaty, people are yelling at each other. It's all muted, but I'm kind of yelling at him to encourage him to, keep going and stuff like that. So it gets pretty hectic when you do a VO2 max test. But when we start the test, what we like to do is we set them up and we kind of explain what the test is going to be like. So, we explain the Bruce protocol. So, you're going to start with a mask on your face. I'm going to start the test. You're not going to move at rest. I'm going to have you breathe for a couple of minutes just to get your standardized rates and your baseline levels. And then the treadmill will start to move. And you say, I'll let you know when this treadmill starts to increase its grade and its rate 10 seconds before it does so. So just make sure to expect it. And then the whole time, try not to talk. We will have a sheet in front of you, and you guys will see Noah, one of the other TAs. He's holding up this sheet, and that's how he's going to point out his RPE, so his ratings of perceived exertion. So he's going to point at where he's at. All the other information is going to be on the computer that I'm standing in front of. I'm going to be the one monitoring the test. Maybe as you continue the test, it's going to get increasingly harder and harder. We're going to ask you to push as hard as you possibly can until the very end of the test. We will let you know when to stop. If we don't let you know to stop when we ask you to continue, but you cannot continue anymore, jump off the treadmill and stand on the sides and we'll stop the test, because that usually means they've reached their peak exhaustion. They really can't continue anymore. So you just try to constantly continue to encourage them to keep going as hard as they can. If you guys type in VO2 max on any test, it's kind of cool. You get to see them encouraging them and yelling and going as fast as they can. But this is just a short and sweet version. So I'm going to show you the test, show you the video. Remember, don't record anything. I'll give you all the information and we'll talk about the Excel sheet in a second.
Following instruction will provide guidelines on how to perform and proctor a VO2 max test. The purpose of this experiment is to measure maximal oxygen uptake during a maximal graded exercise test. This test utilizes the Bruce protocol performed on the COSMED metabolic cart. Before beginning the test, the COSMED metabolic cart must be calibrated, and the mask must be fitted to the subject and assembled. For the purposes of keeping this video succinct, the calibration will not be demonstrated.
Hi, my name is Leonardo Vieira. I'm from Brazil, and I'm training Jiu-Jitsu. It's a Brazilian martial art since I was 8 years old. Now I'm 44, and I have been competing with high performance for a long time. And my last tournament was 3 or 4 years ago. So since these last tournaments, I'm more focusing in training athletes and coach, but I'm still very active on the mat. Training almost every day and at least 2 times a day.
So that was our participant. Like he said, he's very active. Oh wait, let's see.
Size for the participant.
3.
Place the mask on the subject's face to determine which one provides the best fit. The mask may then be strapped to the subject's head, ensuring it is secure and cannot slide around. Next, attach the flow meter to the front of the mask. The subject may now step on the treadmill and begin the Bruce protocol. Record the heart rate and RPE at the end of every minute using a heart rate monitor and the Borg RPE scale. Each stage will last 3 minutes and will increase by both speed and grade. The subject will rest on the treadmill for 3 minutes. When the 3 minutes of rest is complete, the next stage will start and the subject will begin exercising. Continue on to each stage until at least 3 out of the 4 criteria is met. Once the test is terminated, reduce the speed and bring down the grade fully to allow the subject to cool down for 5 minutes.
Okay, so I think this is just like the test now. So he's in his first stage, and you guys can see they start off at a walk. So it's pretty much completely flat. They're starting off at a walk. It's really easy intensity. And yeah. You guys, again, you'll kind of see Noah pop his head up every once in a while to show the Borg scale so we can figure out what his RPE is. I'm over here on the left, and I'm trying to make sure that all of his criteria are met, right? So I'm monitoring his heart rate, I'm looking at his RER, and I'm looking at his VO2. So I'm in charge of 3 criteria. Noah is in charge of 1 criteria over there. As long as those criteria meet up, then we're going to stop the test. So you guys can kind of see those levels at the end. So you guys can kind of see the treadmill's increasing. He's at exercise time 11 minutes. So he's probably around stage 3 right now. And this is the weird stage where you don't know whether to walk or run. And I hate this part. So you can see he's kind of doing this like weird power walk thing. He's almost falling off the back of the treadmill. Then we're going to increase it a little bit more. So now he's actually starting to pick up his pace and he's running, right? And you guys will see as he gets more tired, he starts to like not pick up the pace enough. So Noah's going to step back to make sure he doesn't fall off the treadmill. So you can kind of see Noah in the back keeping his hand there so he doesn't fall off, because this might happen if they get too tired. They can't keep up the pace. So it's increasing even more. He's doing very well. He was able to get to a pretty good stage for his age. We're really picking up, and then you guys can see how he kind of just jumps off. So we were getting close to all the criteria, I believe, and I think we may have hit all of them. You guys will kind of take a look at that, but he got too tired, and so you see him kind of step off the treadmill, right? So he hops off, JK, right about now, because he was too tired, and then so we immediately start recovery so he can catch his breath, and we're still recording all these VO2 values during to see how his recovery is. Okay. All right, so we're now going to go into the data sheet, and usually you guys would take time as a group to look at it, but we're just going to look at it together as a class. So this is what I will be posting onto Beachboard, and I know it looks crazy and intimidating, and don't know what that is. But I highlighted the columns that I think are really important. So right here we have the time. So it's going to match up with, you know, the data sheet that you guys wrote. Now the data sheet that you guys wrote down, it's really kind of unnecessary. We don't actually use that when we do VO2 testing. We really just look at this Excel sheet. That's kind of just for you guys to practice and keep track of RPE. But when it comes to actually understanding the data, the Excel sheet is the most important. So we have time. And then we have VO2 in milliliters per minute. Now think back to the lecture. When I talked about liters per minute, that was a unit of absolute VO2, right? So this is your absolute VO2. Now, if we go over here, we have milliliters per minute per kilogram. This is actually our relative VO2. So you can see VO2 per kilogram. Remember, this is relative VO2. This is the one we like because it takes into account body weight. So this is the one we're going to use, is relative VO2. And then if you look over here on this side, we have METs, which is, remember we talked about how you can calculate the METs into calories and figure out how many calories they were burning in that stage. But there's nothing you need to calculate with that. It's just an interesting column if you want to check it out. And we have all these other things, right? We have heart rate that was going on. We have we have so much information. So right here, percent protein versus fat versus carbs. So that's like our RQ quotient, right? There's just a bunch of different stuff you can figure out from this, but we're not going to focus on that right now. So what you guys are going to do in order to find the VO2 max, and I'm going to kind of do this with you guys, and I'm technically going to give you the answer because it was already in the video, but we're going to see how you would analyze an Excel sheet like this. So remember, this is our time column, and this is our VO2 in milliliters per minute per kilogram. So I'm going to kind of highlight that so we can keep track of it as we go down. You know what? Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to freeze these things. Okay, that way we can actually see it. All right. So we're going to move down, and again, all these values are pretty irrelevant. We're going to come to the very end. Okay, so I marked it for you guys, and the very end of the test occurred here. This is when you hopped off the treadmill and you started the recovery phase. And we really want to look at all these values right here, and we're looking for a plateau. However, for his values, they were kind of all over the place. They were pretty sporadic. So it's really hard to see a plateau in the data by just looking at the raw data. So what I actually like to do when I'm solving for this is I actually like to make a graph first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you guys how to make a graph. So I'm going to make my own Excel sheet. And I'm going to have some like tips and tricks for you guys to easily work on Excel. Okay. Now remember, I don't know how to use a Mac, and I'm pretty sure anytime I say shift or control is the equivalent to the command key. So substitute control for command, and I think it's all the same functions. Now I have no idea, and like I said, I don't know how it works, but I'm gonna try. Okay, so we want to make for your graph, you want to make a time versus relative VO2 graph, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to highlight the time section. So you're going to scroll all the way to the top. You're going to click on this first box of time. You can even highlight this if you really wanted to, which I'm going to include the units. And you saw how many data points this are, right? So it's really annoying to have to like drag and highlight all of these. So I'm going to show you a quick way to highlight. You're going to hold the control, shift, down. You're going to do that one more time. There we go. Sorry, I'm going to unfreeze my panes because that's why it's not. Give me a second. Ignore everything I just said. Okay, so I'm going to go control, shift, and I'm going to press the down arrow key. And then I'm clicking the down arrow key a couple times. And if I click it all the way, it's going to highlight to the very bottom. okay? I'm gonna keep holding the control button down. So keep holding the control button. You can let go of the shift, you can let go of the down key, but hold control and then click on VO2 kilograms per kilogram, right? So we want a relative. Then we're gonna press shift, we're gonna press down, down again, down one more time so I can highlight all of those. I'm still holding control down. I'm gonna hit Control C now. So still holding control, I'm gonna hit C. That's gonna copy it. I'm going to go to my new data sheet. I'm gonna hit Control V, and that's gonna paste all the values that I want. Okay, I'm gonna do that one more time so you guys can kind of remember and follow along with what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm gonna unclick everything. I'm gonna click on time. I'm gonna highlight that box. I'm gonna hold Control. I'm gonna hit Shift. I'm gonna click the down arrow, click down again, as I'm holding Control Shift. Down one more time, it's gonna highlight all of those. I can let go of the Shift key, but still holding on to the Control key. I'm gonna scroll all the way up, holding to the Control key. I'm gonna click VO2 per kilogram. I'm gonna hit Shift, holding Control, Shift, hit down again, hit down one more time, hit down the last time, and it should highlight all of the data cells that I want. Then I'm gonna keep holding control, hit Control C. It's gonna copy it, go to my new data sheet, and I'm gonna hit Control V, and that'll paste it for me. Okay, so I don't actually need two of these. I'm gonna delete. I'm gonna make a scatter plot, which you guys should all know how to do, so I'm not really gonna focus on that. So I'm gonna highlight those two, I'm gonna go insert, I'm gonna go scatter plot without lines. I just want the dots, and it's gonna look something crazy like that, right? And that's really hard to look at. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make it very, very large. Okay, so I'm gonna make it even larger. Because I really wanna spread out these data points for you guys. Okay, so on the x-axis here, we have time. So make sure you are including your measurements in time. And I don't know what these funky values are. Oh, it's because these ones aren't numerical values. Okay, as long as you just label your access time and you don't actually, like you don't worry about what the numbers actually mean, that's fine. And then over here is your VO2 values, right? So remember, we're looking for a plateau in the data. So as we increase the intensity, there's a plateau. So it's kind of hard to tell, but you guys can see. So he's increasing intensity, and then we got like a little baby plateau. And then increase in intensity, that's probably him at the next stage, and it flattens out. Increase in intensity flattens out to the next stage. Increase intensity, and then we see this final kind of plateau, and we start to see it kind of drop down right here, right? So if I were to pick the VO2 max, I would pick the highest point in this plateau. And yeah, so you get like these super high points, right? And these are kind of, we would call them outliers. They're like really weird values that, you know, probably it was just like a fluke in the data. We don't really know why they're there. So we're gonna ignore those. Like even this little guy, I wouldn't consider him like legit. You want something within the plateau of the data. So I would say if I'm really looking at like the highest point of this plateau, I would pick that dot. So I'm hovering over the dot and it actually tells me right there, VO2 point, and it says 14.54. So that means at 14 minutes and 54 seconds, that's the stage, he had a value of 49.62. And I would say, I would argue that that's his VO2 max. Now, Cosmed actually, the VO2 card we actually used to collect this, it tells you what his VO2 max was, and it said 46.6. So if you want to put that, you can. But I am thinking 49-ish would be his VO2. So really, you can put whatever you want. You're going to copy and paste this into your Word document. So make sure you have all your axes right, your chart titles right, the whole shebang. And then you're going to make it look something like this. So we're going to go right there. Right? So every time we have our VO2 with the correct units, we have our chart title, and this one's way nicer, but you can see that I labeled that point as VO2 max. And this one's really nice. So you can see the changes in stages, right? So we have an increase in stage, it kind of plateaus, increase in stage, plateau, increase in stage, plateau, increase in stage, plateau, and then increase in stage and then little baby plateau. And this is your recovery at this end. This was for a different student in the past. So, and this is the Excel sheet similar to what you guys found. And so we thought that his VO2 max was either, you can say according to the video, so that's the Cosman value. That's what we thought. Or you can say based on the graph, we saw it was about 49 point something one. So it's really what you want to use, and I will take both, whatever you want. Or you can find a different value in the data, it's fine. And you're gonna look into the percentile. So he's a male, and he was 44 years old. So we're gonna look at this row, and based off of COSMED, if he got a 46.6, he was in the excellent. So he was in the 80th percentile. Based off of 49 value, he was still excellent in the 85th percentile. So it really doesn't matter, they're pretty close. He still categorizes as excellent, which is really impressive for someone his age. And you can talk about if that makes sense. Think about his training, think about what he's training for, how often he trains, and if that makes sense for what he's doing. So that is for you guys. What else? Let me pull up the lab. So, oh, these are all the answers. Okay. All right, so yeah, for right here, you guys will be just copying and pasting everything that's in here into this data sheet. Make sure you have that all filled out. Make sure you write down the VO2 max that you want to talk about right there. You're going to make a graph right there and make sure you mark VO2 max on the graph. For this discussion 1, explain the difference between oxygen uptake and maximal oxygen uptake, and the difference between RER and RQ. We already talked about this, so what percentile does he fall under, and does this match his current lifestyle or training status, and did he reach a VO2 max or VO2 peak? I want you to talk about every single one of the criteria, okay? And the way you're gonna do that is, you're gonna go in his lab, you're gonna go into the data sheet, and you're gonna see if he hit everything. So, let me pull that up real quick. Okay, so we made a graph. We said 49 at minute, sorry, we're going back. So we said at minute 14.54, that's when he hit his VO2 max. So you're gonna go back to the VO2 max, the data sheet, and you're gonna find 14.54, and I'm gonna just highlight it because that's the easiest way to kind of see things. And you're gonna look at all these values, right? So if you guys don't know how to freeze panes, you can click on this row, and wherever this top line ends is where you're gonna freeze it. So you're gonna click on that row, and then you go to view. You're gonna go to freeze panes, and you click freeze pane. Because that way, if you scroll, you can still see that top row, which is super exciting. Yes, I know, Excel is cool. Okay, so we're gonna go back to our 14.5, or the one we highlighted. Where did it go? Okay, so please cooperate. I'm having a day with technology. Okay, so that's where it ended. This is when we think he reached his VO2 max. So if we look over here, does it look like he had a plateau in the data? He got a 48, a 49, and a 49, and a 48. Pretty close, I would say, yeah. As when I check for a plateau, I mean checking to see that at least 3 data points are within plus or minus 1, right? So these are pretty close to each other. Okay, what's the next criteria? We want to talk about RER. And again, remember we say RER and RQ is synonymous. So I'll highlight this for you guys. So we want a plateau of in our VO2. We want an RER value of greater than 1.15. So take a look at this box and see if that satisfies it. we want a heart rate of plus or minus 10 beats of his age predicted heart rate. So remember, we're going to find 220 minus his age. We're going to find out his max heart rate, and you're going to figure out the range plus or minus 10 on each side of his max heart rate. Did he hit that with his heart rate right here? And then the last criteria is his RPE. So when you guys go back to your data sheet, I don't remember what it is, but go back to your data sheet, see at minute 14 to 15 what his RPE was, and then record that. In order to get full credit for this question, you have to tell me what the criteria is, and then you have to tell me the exact value he got, and then if he satisfied it. So for example, for our RPE, or sorry, the plateau of VO2. So you can say the first criteria in order to assess whether or not the individual got a true VO2 max was a plateau in the relative VO2. And according to our data, we saw that the individual at minute 14 and 54 seconds saw relative VO2 values of 48.6, 49.6, and 49.1 in a short time frame, indicating a plateau in VO2, right? That's super crazy long, but you guys saw how I talked about the criteria. I gave the exact data values they got, and I said, yes, he matched that criteria, or no, he didn't hit that criteria, right? So go ahead and do that for the last three. That should tell you whether or not he got a VO2 max or a VO2 peak. Okay. And then you're going to describe an individual with a poor level of cardiovascular fitness. So age, you know, what their sex would be, and then what an example of their VO2 max would be. And then give a specific disease this person is most at risk for. So we talked about this in previous slides. Don't just say heart disease, right? We know that people who have a low VO2 aren't the most heart healthy. What exactly does that mean? What are they at risk for? You know, think about other things that might lead to a low VO2. Thinking about a person's diet, what other kind of diseases are indicative of someone with a bad diet or low cardiovascular health. And then what could you do to help that person improve their VO2? So remember, be specific. Talk about how often they should train, what kind of training they should do. Remember that if they're pretty low cardiovascular health, they're probably not the most trained individual, so they're probably a beginner. So make sure you're incorporating that. What kind of training should they do? Should they go on runs, swims, that kind of thing, right? So that's what you should include there. Okay, so we talked about results. We talked about the Excel sheet. Make sure you make a graph. And I think that's it. Okay, guys, like I said, I know this is definitely not the way I wanted lab to end, but I am really, really, really glad that I got to teach you guys. And I know an online format sucks, and I'm sure you guys had all a very rough semester, as we all have been going through. And I feel for you guys, and I want to help you guys where I can. So please reach out to me and let me know where I can help and how I can help. And I'd be more than happy to do that. If not, if you felt really great and you really enjoyed the lab, then I'm happy, I'm glad. And I'm hoping that, you know, you guys will get some lab time and you might not meet me in person, but that's okay. As long as you guys do well and excel at anything you ever do, and then that makes me happy. Please keep in touch. Like I said, you guys have my email. If you want to reach out to me, please do so. I'm so happy when I get to hear from my old students. It's really probably the best part of the grad program that I've been in. And so, yeah, I really like to hear from you guys and see what you're up to and what's going on in your life. I think that's it. Good luck in finals, good luck in life. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I will hear from you guys when I do. And like I said, if you guys could email me that feedback that you guys are giving me for your participation points, I would love that. But again, it's not required. So, see you guys in office hours if you decide to go and do that. And if not, good luck. Bye, guys.